So going to a music conference as a music professional is something you're going to do, and even as a music student, it's something that's going to happen. It's going to be a part of your life at some point. You're going to end up going to one, and it can be kind of daunting, especially when it's your first one, about how to go about it, especially if it's a giant one. So what I thought I would do today is give you guys kind of my experience when I go to the FMEA conference or Florida All-State Conference, and what it's like for me to go and how I go about it, and give you some of the tips that I have after I've going to, this is probably my 6th or 7th one. So what it's like for me to go, and maybe hopefully if you go to a music conference, you can take some of the things that I do that'll help you get the best day out of your conference experience. So first off, we're actually at the University of Tampa here, which is probably about a 5, 6, 8 minute drive from the convention center. And the reason we're here is I actually work here, and parking for me is free. And that's actually my first big tip, is if you can find a place to park that's not going to cost you a ton of money, even if you have to walk a little bit. Like I'm gonna have to walk about 20 minutes to get to the convention center, but that'll probably save me about $20 to $30 overall in parking fees. I know my car is where I normally park it when I go to work. It's in a garage, so I don't have to worry about that. And that's one of the hidden costs about going to a conference, not just the registration fee, and maybe you have to get a rental car and all that kind of stuff, but you're also gonna have to park the thing. And if it's a multiple day conference, you've got 3 or 4 days, that could be $120, $150 just in parking. So if you can find a way to avoid that, keep it at your hotel, maybe Uber, or do any other thing, that's gonna help you cut down on that cost. And it's gonna make your funds for the day go a lot further. So really quick, before we get too far into it and we get off campus, I wanted to show you guys, check out this building. So this is actually the new arts building that we're gonna have at UT. So like, I'm gonna be teaching in there coming next year. It's been going on for about a year now. It's supposed to be done by fall semester. So if you're coming to UT, we'll be in that building. They just put up the 4th floor, and it's actually starting to like get really exciting because it's starting to, you know, construction takes forever, so it's actually starting to take shape of a building, and we're starting to see where we're going, and that there's like a slamp where the band room floor is and that kind of stuff. So it's really exciting. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now for me, this is actually my 2nd day going to the conference. I was there for a couple hours yesterday just to kind of scope things out before I took this video. But how I got there and what kind of shortened up my trip was we have those scooters, those Lime scooters. They're all over Tampa, and we're using them. I was using them yesterday to get around. However, today I'm not going to do that to get to the conference, and I'll show you why in a second. So the whole reason I actually am not taking a scooter this time, even though it would cut my time down by about 10 minutes, is I actually went to Oxford Exchange and got me a Buddy Brew coffee. Oxford Exchange is right across the street from the University of Tampa where I work, and Buddy Brew coffee is one of the Tampa staple coffee shops, and that's one of my biggest tips for your conference. You're gonna have a lot of conference food, and you're not gonna wanna leave the conference hall that much, but if you can, which I highly suggest you do, go and try out actual local stuff, get away a little bit from the convention center or the hall, and see if you can't find some actual like things that are specific to the city that you're visiting. Now, the coffee is delicious. It's great. Buddy Brew always does a really good job. And Oxford Exchange is gorgeous. But the whole reason I'm actually not talking inside of there is the barista was nice enough to warn me that they actually don't allow photography in the building. It's a pretty historic building. It's kind of pretty. I'm sure there's a lot of people who just got annoying trying to take headshots in there and stuff like that. So they actually don't allow photography in there. So we're just gonna go ahead and walk to the convention center. It should take us about 10-15 minutes to get there. And then we're gonna go to the exhibition hall and see what kind of trouble we can get into when we get there. Now, one last thing I want to talk about before we actually get to the convention center is actually preparing to leave that morning. Now, I've got a backpack on, and it might seem kind of dorky to be walking around with it, kind of seems unprofessional, but in that backpack, I'm able to have everything I need for the day and save a little bit of money too. Water bottles in the convention center are gonna be like $5-6. So what I did was put a couple in a Ziploc bag, put them in the bag, so that saves me, a couple dollars. And I also don't have to think about it. I don't have to go and buy one. It's just already there. I've also got an external battery port for my phone because it's going to run out. A lot of people's phones will run out at the same time, and so all of the outlets will get taken up just like they do at like an airport or anything like that. And then I've also got sanitary wipes and Germ-X because you're shaking a lot of hands, you're meeting a lot of people. Just gonna be a lot. I've also got a couple of my mouthpieces. I'm not taking my whole horn. There's nothing in there instrument-wise that I would want to buy today. I'm kind of all set. I just bought a tuba. I'm done. But I am taking 2 mouthpieces just to try some stuff. There'll be a couple mouthpieces there that they're gonna have me try. So it should be fun, and yeah, we're almost there. So before we get into the craziness that is the exhibition floor, I want to remind you guys that we're going at this from my perspective, and I want to remind you that this is a music education conference as well as Allstate at the same time. So the 2 primary purposes of this is for the music teachers of Florida to get a lot of educational enrichment, and for the students of Florida who made Allstate to rehearse and put on the concert and get enriched in that way for the art. So what I end up doing is kind of like a ternary thing. It's like the third thing that's kind of important here, where there's an exhibition floor and there's a lot of socializing, a lot of product placing, and a lot of like advertising, but there's also a lot of professional connections that can be made. And that's most of my day and how I go about this entire thing, just because of where I'm coming from in the music industry. So let's get to it. So one of the coolest things about going to this conference specifically is the front 2 rows of the whole convention center are university booths, like the one we have for the University of Tampa, where you can come and talk to faculty and ask questions about what opportunities the institution has for you, or find out what performance opportunities they have, scholarship opportunities, all of those sorts of things. And you can go and actually talk to actual faculty, and a lot of the times you'll actually be able to chat with your instrumental instructor. Like here I am at the University of Tampa booth, so if a tuba euphonium person comes up, I can chat with them about my studio and teaching them lessons and what their life is going to be like if they come to the University of Tampa. So visiting the exhibition hall can be kind of daunting. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of things to check out, and you might not ever really know what you want to see or what you want to check out. You might be on a limited timetable. Maybe you're only here for like one day or a few hours. So what I highly suggest is you can get a pamphlet when you register for the conference to see what booths are going to be here, and you can make sure you make a strategic strategy essentially to find what booths are going to be interesting to you, where you want to spend most of your time. If maybe you're coming here specifically to try a mouthpiece, you can find the companies that are doing that, bring your horn, hit up those companies specifically, and make sure you get that done. And then if you have any extra time, piddle around and find other things. It's also really easy to get caught up in seeing people that you haven't seen before and meeting new people, and it's really easy to get caught up in conversations. So just budget more time than you think you actually have. Another really cool thing you can do is you can come here and try out instruments. A lot of the brands and dealers will have their own. I'm hanging out at the buffet booth. They've got our best and euphoniums and buffet crampon clarinets and Kurtois trombones and all that kind of stuff. You can hear people trying stuff behind me. You can just kind of bring your mouthpiece, or sometimes some of the mouthpiece booths will let you borrow one if you give them like your ID or something like that. So you can actually try out horns before you purchase them, which is a lot of fun. So not only with the instruments, but also with mouthpieces, like you can bring your instrument, and this is woodwind, brass, all of them. A lot of mouthpiece companies like Warburton will actually be here so that you can try out their mouthpieces. They have a lot of their more famous ones. Warburton here has all their component mouthpieces, so you can actually try them out on your instrument in the conference hall. The only bad side about that is it's a conference hall, so as you can hear, it's pretty loud, but you can get a lot of feeling out of it, and you can kind of hear yourself on it. It's a good place for a one-stop shop to find a good mouthpiece. And of course, if you're looking to grab music, a lot of times you can snag music here at the conventions. There's multiple ones. There's actually another one there, Beethoven Music Company selling music. There's a bunch of music companies, so you can snag stuff. And the really cool thing about this is a lot of times they'll have big discounts on the paper music. So if you buy a lot, they'll tend to get it to you for a really good price. So coming with a little bit of extra money and maybe a little bit of extra room in your bag to put music in might be a good idea. And one of the really exciting things for me personally, because I'm an artist with Besson and because I'm an artist with LaFreak, I work at UT, all of them have booths here. So the really cool thing is I get to meet some of the reps, or I get to talk with some of the people I haven't seen for a while. Like Hans, who is the inventor of LaFreak, is going to be at the LaFreak booth. So I get to actually chat with him, maybe get a bite, get some dinner, which is really cool for me because I get to meet these guys in the industry who I emailed with back and forth, but I don't necessarily get to see very often. So not only with mouthpieces do you get the opportunity to try stuff, but also with some of these smaller accessories, like here at the LaFreak booth, they don't only have one set of LaFreak or anything like that. They have every single size of LaFreak and every single metal that you could possibly think of that you could put on your instrument. And if you bring your instrument here, you can actually try them out. You can put them on your horn. You can outfit your whole horn. They can tell you what each one does, which is really exciting. And you get to talk to the inventor of the thing a lot of the times, especially with these smaller companies. You get to talk to the inventor and ask them how things work, what it does for the instrument, where to put it on your instrument, how to put it on. You can talk to them about all these things, which is really exciting to have that opportunity, because otherwise you'd have to go to a store. They might not know it quite as well as the person who invented the thing. So you get that opportunity, which is a really fun side of the conferences and the exhibition floor.
So lung trainers, what they do is they teach proper breathing technique. The way they do that, the weighted inserts in our chambers only rise up and down when the breath is supported from diaphragmatic breathing, so you're engaging the core. It works on a system of air pressure and air flow. The air flow is moderated from the 3 holes on our air regulator. As you lift or cover the holes, you can work on increasing your air flow while not changing the pressure. The air pressure is moderated, or the resistance is when you add weights to the chamber, so you can work on those 2 variables independent of each other.
So had a fun morning. There's a percussion group going on. Had a fun morning checking out the exhibition hall. And now it's lunchtime. I am starving, so I'm waiting for my friend Taylor, and we're gonna go get lunch. So whenever he comes out of those doors, we're gonna go get some food.
May find you
crazy unexpected. I totally forgot that FMEA and all the fraternities, they all do this singing at 1 o'clock every single time. Thankfully, he was here to film it for me, so we were able to get a couple little footage about it. So, lots of fun. I'm all zoomed in.
Yeah, trumpets are better.
Yeah, that was completely unexpected. Totally forgot that that's a thing they do. We were just going to lunch, and then he caught me, and then we were able to get it on film. Lots of fun. And now, where'd you go? He's gonna try some of the free. We're gonna do that actually before we get food. So let's hop to it.
It's like, you hear a difference? Is it just me? Because I'm not doing anything to it.
Take it off again?
Let's take it off.
Yeah. One more bit.
Sounds a lot cleaner to me. Like a lot cleaner.
It's more defined. Like
Yes.
it's easier to find the notes.
How do you feel here?
More
Like on your face.
I would say more focused, if anything.
Do you feel like you're working as hard to make things happen?
No. Well, I don't feel like I'm doing anything to make it happen.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not doing it. Well, right now when I'm doing this, I'm not trying to manipulate at all.
So we just got done having our lunch, Sparkman Wharf. We sat down for a little while, and we ended up eating at some chicken place, Splitsville, where you can play bowl and stuff at the same time. Pretty good place. So we're heading back to the convention center now. But Taylor, I actually wanted to ask you before we get back there, what is your biggest tip for going to a convention like this, especially as a professional like we are? You know, we're not teachers, we're not players in like any of the all-state bands. So what would you tell somebody?
Well, I think that the one of the biggest tips that I would say is first make sure that you are bringing a stack of business cards, because obviously networking is the biggest key as a freelance musician. And then I have a little bag that I always bring, so that way I can have a collection of my business cards and take all the business cards of everybody else's that comes. And then you're gonna leave with obviously a ton of business cards. Your business cards are gonna be out there, so always follow up. So take that stack of business cards that you took and send always like a follow-up email or something to everybody. It's kind of like that old school, like leave a handwritten thank you note. So that way you're sort of like, you know, hey Aaron, like it was lovely to meet you at the FMEA convention. We talked about, you know, getting together and doing duets sometime. Like we should totally make that happen, or talk about something that whatever you talk to them about. And then that way they actually remember you, because everybody there is gonna leave with a stack of cards and they're not gonna remember you if you don't actually follow up. So, yeah.
There you go. Hey, so we're currently at the end of the day, went back to the exhibition hall, didn't really do much, actually ended up just getting a coffee with an old friend, which is another, you know, great thing to do, is meet up with people you haven't seen in a while whenever you go to these conferences. But before I sign off, before we end the day and I go off home and lay down because my feet hurt from standing and chatting with so many people, these conferences can be a really good thing professionally, and they can do a lot for you to fulfill you and inspire you to get excited for creating your art in the future. I highly suggest going to these things, whether it be a big music education thing for your state, or maybe a smaller thing like a Surtech, or like, you know, if you play flute, a Florida Flute convention, or any of those types of things. I highly suggest going to them and participating in them and really just absorbing everything you can when you attend them. But anyway, I'm gonna head out. Vlogging is kind of new to this channel, so if you like this and you'd like to see more of this, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. But otherwise, I am out. And remember, be happy, but never satisfied.